Hey everybody, so my name is LaPretty and welcome to my page known as the Dominican Voodoo Spiritualist. I know I'm doing something different today and I'm sitting up in the bed and you all see this double chin. I don't know my double chin was this bad like this, but it is, so I'm gonna try my best to just tuck it in because I didn't know it was that bad. But so yeah, today I'm gonna be doing a video about how to find the right spiritual priest or priestess to be your godparent or your godmother, because a lot of people seem to be confused about how to find the right godparent or the right priest or priestess to really guide them. Because I've had a lot of clients come in that have been seen by some really rugged, ragged people. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you like the red flags and the green flags on how to find the right priest or priestess. So the first thing is that you need to know what spiritual path you want to go down. You could either be in E5, you could be in the 21 divisions, you could be in Palo Mayombe, you could be in Umbanda, you could be in Sanse, you could be in Haitian Voodoo, so on and so forth. But these African traditional religions, they have priests and priestesses who initiate people. The first thing I want to say is you do not need to be initiated to practice, because I hate how this message has been preached and ingrained in people so hard in social media that everybody feels like they have to be initiated in these religions in order to be seen or in order to be connected to these spirits. No, you don't. The only time you really need to be initiated is if you are in need of like strong protection, or if you're destined to become a priest or priestess. Other than that, you don't always need initiation, because you have a lot of people on social media now complaining about how expensive it is to be initiated, how it's almost inaccessible, and how it's a lot of price gouging in initiation. And yeah, there is. But I feel like that should go to show you that by there being such a need, or there being such a high volume of people desperately wanting to be initiated, it's jacking the prices up. Because whether people believe it or not, spirituality is a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. And a lot of people make a lot of money in these traditions. But you have to ask yourself, is it worth you going broke, worth you being destitute, worth you being in a bad situation financially for you to be a Orisha devotee, or for you to be a Loa devotee or a Mysterio devotee and whatnot? You have to ask yourself these things. So now I'm going to go ahead and get started on the green and red flags. So the initiation part, like I said, you only need to be initiated is if you are in need of like strong protection, or if you're called or destined to be a priest or priestess. But other than that, you don't need to be initiated to practice, because people fail to realize that a lot of people who started in these traditions, like our ancestors, they didn't start off being a priest or a priestess. Like even in their communities, villages, or countries, to be an elder, it wasn't as easy as it is now. You couldn't buy being an elder. You had to become an elder by skill, knowledge, teachings, and by way of just being called. And I feel like if we were to go back to the old school way, things would be a lot different and better in spirituality. But hey, it's not. And you have to remind yourself of that, is that our ancestors were still kept and held and protected and lived life, and became blessed, or protected, or heavily covered spiritually by the way that they practiced and believed and respected the traditions. So you have to understand that these religions require respect, tutelage, and training and knowledge that goes into these spiritual practices. So initiation is not always required, and it's not always needed or necessary for you to get where you need to go in life, or for you to really achieve or accomplish a dream. The second thing that I want to mention is make sure that your people you're being initiated under or going to for readings are legit. And I know people say, well, that's kind of hard to determine if somebody's legit or not, because there's so many different people. A way that you can determine whether somebody is legit or not is if they are following the tradition the way that it's supposed to be practiced, whether if they're following the guidelines and the traditions of the practice, if you see that reflected in their spirit, their mind, body, and soul, and the way that they act and the way that they treat people, also make sure that they come off as authentic, because a lot of people do so much stuff for show and put on such a front and a performance, you don't really know what's real and what's not. Make sure the people that you're going to are authentic, that they know of real, genuine people, that they know of good people in these religions and traditions, but also make sure that they know what they're talking about. The third thing to look at is to make sure that they produce good results, that they have good reviews, that they have good words from other people, good references, and that they have a healthy following. Now, I will pause here because I do know that just because somebody has a healthy following, just because somebody has good reviews and a good stance in the community, does not always make them a good person. Nor does that mean that they're going to be good to you, because I've had that happen to me before. You really have to just use your discernment, because whether you believe in God or not, people are still going to be people no matter where you go. So the same things that people found in church that they ran away from, unfortunately, it's like that, if not worse, in the African traditional religion. So whether somebody is a pastor, bishop, priest, whatever, they're still going to be a human being at the end of the day. So that means that you will have to, how can I say it, vet out these priests and priestesses. Make sure that what they say makes sense. Make sure that what they say is clear and precise and understandable. But also make sure that they're reciprocating your feelings. Don't go to a priest or a priestess that's not showing you respect, that's not giving you respect, that's not listening to you, that's not being sincere with you, that's not being honest, that's not being genuine. But also don't go to somebody that's not being fair. Because in these spiritual traditions, there is a lot of mistreatment and unfairness that does go on, and a lot of it doesn't get checked because people are so desperate to be in something that's powerful, to possibly become important, and to be a part of something that is such a big deal in society. Because spirituality is not just this, oh, we worship trees and plants and things of that nature. You have bona fide celebrities that use this stuff, like Summer Walker, she's an EFI, Kalani in EFI, SZA in EFI. Then you have Cardi B, who's not only in EFI, but she's in the 21 divisions. And the reason why I know she's in the 21 divisions, because if you notice in a lot of her videos now, she has the panuelos on. She may not talk about it or, be open about it, but, if you know, you know. And there's a lot of, celebrities getting involved in like Haitian voodoo and just a lot of different traditions. So people know that this stuff is powerful, it's a trend, it's impactful, and a lot of people are interested and connected. But don't get so phased and so like mystified by the popularity and being seen and wanted and desired, that you lose focus of yourself, but you lose self-respect. A lot of these people will bank off of you being insecure, being wanting to be seen and loved and heard, and wanting to become famous. And some of them will intentionally withhold these things from you because you desire what they have or what other people have. So be careful of getting into this thing for the wrong reasons. But be careful in you becoming involved in this just to want to feel a missing void or to feel popular. Because, like I said, you have to be secure within yourself and know why you're getting into this. Because everybody doesn't get into this to be famous. A lot of people became famous off of this by happenstance or it just happened. And you have to think, a lot of people who are in these religions already, they didn't just walk into these or discover these. They were born into this, or something that was a part of their culture. And that's why the access of these religions was so much easier for them than it may be for you, to somebody who's not from the culture. The third thing that I want to say about finding the right elder or priest is to use common sense. These people are not gods. These people are not the Orishas or the Loas or the Mysterios or the Palo spirits themselves. These people are messengers or people of the spiritual class that have been ordained by God and these spirits to bring guidance, love, protection, peace, or to bridge a gap between you and the spirits. These people are not your parents, they're not your friends, they're not your confidants or whatnot. And I'm not saying that they can't become your friends, but you have to have a clear understanding and a clear mindset about what you're looking for from these spiritual traditions and from these people. Everybody will not have a close relationship with their godparents. Everybody will not always be on the same page with their godparents, and everybody will not always be in a close place with your godparents. Some people will have the passage or the journey of having close knit godparents that you can call on and ask for and things like that. And some people won't. Some of these people are just meant for a season, or they're only meant to get you through the door through initiation so that you can discover things on your own. And not having a close family or not having a support from your godparent or godparents can sometimes be a blessing in disguise, because you do have some people in these traditions that don't want you to grow. They don't want you to grow. They don't want you to be seen. They don't want you to be heard. They don't want you to manifest or grow into anything that's bigger than what you are. And you have to be mindful of that. So sometimes not being close to people and not being, close knit with people is protection in disguise, because some of these people that were close to you, you wouldn't be able to get anything. So as long as you got through the door and got where you needed to go, then that's good. Because I've read for a lot of people that are priests and priestesses who had godparents who did them like that, where they got initiated and they hated them right after they did it. You got people who got initiated and didn't get taught anything. Then you got people who've been initiated and they weren't given any tools or any knowledge or anything about how to do anything. And so sometimes you have to be, mindful of the people that you get under, but sometimes it's a blessing in disguise that you're not close with some of these people because they're not meant for you. The reason why they may have initiated you and hated you after is because God or the spirits made them give you that in order for you to get what you need. Because sometimes you can see this with parents. Sometimes people are birthed into this world because whatever that child has to be brought into the world for that purpose to be done. Despite the parents not wanting the child or wanting the child to grow or wanting the child to even be, be something. And you have to look at it that way. So some people weren't brought here to just be close to their parents or their families or whatnot. Some people were brought here for a sole purpose. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with close relationships and being close and whatnot, but sometimes the people who birth you or give you life or maybe even initiate you are not meant to be close with you throughout your life or in your life at all. Another thing that I want to say is that when you are looking for a priest or priestess, to make sure that you're receiving what you're supposed to get. Be mindful of people who want to waste your time and drag you along and spin you around without you getting anything. Because we talk about this in dating and relationships, but people outside of dating and romantic relationships can love bomb you. They can drag you along, they can lead you on, and they can waste your time, and they can really drain you. Never let somebody drain you because you want to be a part of a religion. Never let somebody disrespect you or bully you or humiliate you or waste your time just because you want to be in a religion. There are a lot of people in these spiritual traditions that don't treat people like that. And I know it's hard to believe, but it's not. You just have to find them. You have to make sure that you are getting what you need when you need to get it and getting on when it's time to get on. Because some things in life do take time to learn, but some things in life could just come as quick as as quick as they do. And then once you got it, you can move on to something else. So be mindful of being other priests and priestesses that want to keep you down and keep you under them and just keep you behind. Um, Another thing that I want to mention about priests and priestesses is money. Everybody has bills, everybody has goals, everybody has responsibilities, and everybody has a life that they want to live. Never go to a priest or priestess that only values themselves and only thinks that they're the only ones in the world that have a life. Because you got bills, you got Kids, if you got them, you got, a car note, if you got that, car insurance, rent, or light bill, water bill, food, clothes to buy, and other necessities and obligations, you have those things too, just like them. Do not let a priest or priestess make you feel like in order for this religion to be yours, you have to go broke and give them all your money just to get it. There are a lot of people that have gone destitute and broke and ended up in bad financial situations, giving their all to priests and priestesses. And you have to be careful now because there's a lot of wickedness going on now in the world with these spiritualists and them being so powerful and just being very like nitpicky and very abusive with their dominance and their influence that they have over people. So you really have to be mindful of falling under the gaze and haze of a lot of these spiritualists on TikTok, especially. I don't know why TikTok came up, but TikTok is one of them because there's a lot of people, especially in the voodoo world now with the 21 divisions and with Haitian voodoo popping up and coming up. And some of this stuff is true, but some of the stuff is just fake. It's AI generated, it's not real, and it's just like a big distraction to just pull you in so they can get numbers. Um, Another thing that I want to say is be balanced in everything that you do. Be balanced in your walk, in your calling, in your teachings with your teachers, but make sure that your teachers are keeping up with you and make sure that they're respecting you, but also make sure that they keep this balance with you, but make sure that they're not trying to rob you. You do not have to be robbed and you do not have to be broke in order for the Orishas or the Lawaz and the Mustadios or whatnot to love you. You don't need to do that in order for them to be connected to you. Because, like I said, these religions take practice, knowledge, and teachings and patience, but you need to connect with the spirits more so than you do with some of these people. Because, like I said, some of these people, they think that they're Azuli Freda themselves or Oshun herself or Papa Legba himself, and they're not. And so you have to, like they say in church, you have to have a relationship with God for yourself before you try to depend on the pastor to give you all your word, you know, when you could get the word for yourself. Um, but yeah, you just have to think about that because, like I said, I've read for a lot of people who have had some really bad, rough experiences with some of these priests and priestesses. And then my thing is that what is for you is for you. Don't get jealous and don't get comparative to other people because you don't know how people got this stuff. Because I will say, even though these are African traditional religions, you will have people who are in these religions that are not of black descent or African descent. And if they've been called, they've been called. But I feel like people who are not of African descent have to understand that sometimes this is not your culture, this is not your religion, and this is just not, it's not where you come from. And you have to be respectful of that. And then, people who didn't grow up in the cultures or raised in the culture have to understand that things may not come as easy for you as it does for other people because you're not raised in the culture and in the tradition. So things may be a little bit harder, a little bit more strenuous, or a little bit, disconnect because there's just a cultural difference that needs to be overridden and there needs to be, some understanding and probably some, tough conversations that need to be had because there's just a lot of dishonesty in these religions. Some people may not get into some of these houses or may not get into some of these places because it's not meant for you. And I will say it's not all roses because there is a lot of prejudice and racism and cattiness and whatnot that goes on in these traditions because um like I said, even though these are African traditional religions, you not only have non African descended people that get rejected and denied, but you have people within the diaspora that get rejected and denied. And this is something to be prepared for because some of these spiritualists are racist, they're colorists, and some of them are, very bougie, and some of them could be real hood and nasty and mean, and some of them could be backstabby and betrayal, and some of them could just be very ostracized because I've had clients deal with it and I've dealt with it too. So you may have good intentions and you may have good thoughts, but some of these people just may not accept you because you may not be who they want in their house. Yeah, so just be sure to be honest and sincere, but make sure that it's being reciprocated back to you. But also, when you're in these traditions, to be honest, to be sincere, but to also be smart and be wise, and don't let anybody play you, reject you, bully you, or just strike you down. Because, in culture aside, black people, Hispanic people, Caribbean people, even white people, I'm speaking to on this. Stop thinking that you have to be disrespected and hurt just to be loved or just to be in these traditions. No, you don't. Because a lot of times they will make you feel as though you have to put up with an elder dogging you out to be initiated. That you have to be talked down to or rash or hash or just bullied or done any type of way just to be in this stuff. I know like a lot of, black people, Hispanic people and Caribbean people, we believe sometimes, oh, well, they old or this is our culture to be dogged out and talked down to because, somebody talked down to them. No, no, disrespect is disrespect, no matter if you're Caribbean, Haitian, Nigerian, Black American, Cuban, whatever. You're not going to talk to me any kind of way. And I've actually had to get into it with elders in these traditions about that because some of them will make you feel and think that because you are younger, that you have to be dogged out, or because you're a Black American, you have to be dogged out. And I'm going to talk about that too. People don't talk about this enough, but I'm not going to stick on this too long. But if you are of another culture than your godparent in this religion, don't let them talk down to you because you're not from that culture or from that background. And don't get brainwashed into thinking that that is the way that stuff is done because it's not. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I don't care if anybody get mad. A lot of cultures and traditions that are not American, they feel like Americans are beneath them, and they're living here amongst Americans and with Americans. And some of these African traditional religions, it makes no sense to me, but they do. They will think of African Americans as lesser than dirt or less than a bug and a slug and will still initiate them in their house and down talk them and have them thinking that, oh, well, this is our culture, you're not from our culture, so we have to talk to you like this. No, they don't. You have African Americans that are respected authentically and truthfully by people who are not American or by people who are from these cultures that these religions hail from. So don't get brainwashed into thinking that, oh, this is their culture. I have to bow down to them and get talked to any kind of way. No, you don't, because even though African Americans sometimes want to not believe and think that slavery happened, it did. And some black people may want to not remember or think about black people being mistreated and being slaves and whatnot and, Jim Crow and all that stuff in the United States. It happened, it did, get over it. And some of these cultures that come here that may not even be American, they already know our culture before we know theirs. And some of them will take notes from, racist white people from the past and will try to apply that in the present when dealing with African Americans. And you have to catch that. Because, like I said, you do not need to be disregarded, disrespected, or downtrodden in order for you to thrive and survive in these religions. Respect is respect, no matter who it come from, no matter what they look like. Do not let somebody dog you out or talk down to you because you're an American. And also don't let somebody think that, and this goes for black Americans and white Americans, because I've seen it happen with both groups. Just because you're a black American or a white American, do not let somebody talk you out of your wallet or talk you out of your pockets. Because this is a well known thing, and I know I shouldn't be telling this secret, but I'm going ahead and tell it. It's a well known thing in the Caribbean, sometimes that Americans can be, dumb but rich and, successful and things like that. And be mindful sometimes of going to some of these priests and priestesses, and every time you talk to them, there's like a $20 upcharge, a $50 upcharge, $100 upcharge. When a reading may have been $50 the first time you met them, and now all of a sudden it's $350. Or you went to them the first time for a cleanse and it was $89, and now that you need another one, it's $550 or $670. Be mindful of that, because sometimes people from other cultures will think that they are supposed to rob Americans blind of their money, and that they're supposed to rob you and take from you and dog you out because you're an American. Do not let somebody think of you that less. Don't let somebody rob you or think that, oh, you're a dumb American, so I could just rip you off and take from you and da 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 da. Don't think that. You do not have to do this stuff in order to be loved and accepted. And yes, sometimes these people do charge people from their culture way less or not at all. But just because they do that does not mean anything. Because Americans, and I'm not saying to be, nepotist or nationalists or anything, but just have, self respect, because Americans have to understand that a lot of cultures that come here, they are more loyal to their own people than they are to Americans. Because just how in their home countries, when they come here, they are their country, their nationality first, and their race and culture second. That's a well known thing, especially in the Caribbean. When you're born in Jamaica, when you're born in Trinidad, Guyana, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, wherever you are, Trinidadian first, Dominican first, Mexican first, or Cuban first, and whatever race or ethnicity you are, that's what you are second. And that's why a lot of cultures have such a togetherness the way that they do. So that's pretty much all I have to say in this video. Be sure to like, love, leave positive comments in the comment section, and subscribe. And have a good day.